All right, y'all, we're going to take a look at this Boudoir photography biz. We're actually going to check out, see if it's local and city, combined local city search here has BSS, yes or no. And we're back here in the GBC universe where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, aka full spectrum intent capture. If you want more info on that, yeah, somewhere, pin post, pin video on the profile. And it's our North Star because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. Those that are rising, they're probably bringing in peeps from the entire intent ladder, the intent spectrum. High intent here on the left, to low intent way over on the right. Here we talk about the highest intent peeps, Google search, social media search, searching right now for a boudoir photo shoot in our city. That's where we talk about BSS. All the way at the other end, those are interruption ads like Facebook, Instagram. It's our other brand, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor, where we talk about BLCS. And right now over there, we're only working with boudoir photographers spending more than 10 grand a month on boudoir Facebook ads. So we're focusing on the two intent extremes right now. So here we're talking about BSS, which is boudoir search sameness. As when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. 0 slots means if we're not on page 1, we basically don't exist. We're on page 2 or deeper. And we already know that approximately 80% of Google searches never go past page 1. So that's the bulk of the market, that's most of the market. And if they have zeros, basically if we're in 0 slots on page 1, we're basically invisible and we're going downhill pretty fast. 1 slot on page 1, Google is not good enough either, because every other boudoir photographer on there is also going to have most likely 1 slot. So, if there's 10 organic slots per Google, search page, the a buyer is just going to be clicking on everyone's website, contacting everyone, price shopping us against literally everyone, and as a result, we're actually going to, we're actually going to not stand out, be price shopped. People probably go to the lowest bid, all things like that. So boudoir search sameness, no bueno. We also know that 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google is not normal. Yeah, it's not normal to have such few number of slots for ourselves on page 1 of Google. Extremely common, but not normal. This is actually the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. There's 2 deeper root causes. One, basically everyone knows about, market saturation, and another one, basically nobody knows about, the false belief of page 1 equality. So first, market saturation, that's someone getting a new iPhone, then they're throwing up their Google My Business profile saying they shoot boudoir. Now they got a website saying they shoot boudoir, saturating the market. Or someone gets a new camera, now they're posting the mom groups saying that for boudoir photo shoots. So it's more sellers to the same number of buyers, driving down the price for everyone. And usually this results in other boudoir photographers kind of getting kicked out of the market, going bankrupt, closing down shop. Now, basically everyone knows that. And also a big thing that happened with that was COVID. A lot of people lost their jobs, still to earn money, became boudoir photographers because everyone's got a great camera on their phone, on their cell phone. And so that was another, supply shock, seller shock, way more sellers to the same number of buyers. It was when COVID happened. Now the not currently very known false belief of page 1 equality. That belief is that kind of every boudoir photographer gets, 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. And, maybe we had our website ranked on page 1 of Google, but then more boudoir photographers came in, kicked us down to page 2, and like, oh, that's simply that's simply how it is. Kind of just we simply gotta take what Google gives us. Hopefully that other person closes down and deletes their website so Google can maybe pull us back onto page 1. But it's kind of out of our hands. That's the belief of page 1 equality, whereas every boudoir photographer gets either 0 or 1 slots on page 1, and that's simply how it is. But that's a false belief. I know that's a false belief because I went from 0 out of 10 slots on Google page 1 search to 9 out of 10 slots Google page 1 search in 10 days. Why? Because I knew page 1 equality is a false belief, And my hypothesis was Google would give me as many slots as I want, page one slots as I wanted to put in the effort to acquire for whichever keywords I want to put in the effort to acquire them from. So that's exactly what I did, which we'll see those results in, whatever, 2 or 3 more pictures. So page one equality, false belief. We also know that boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness, so having either 0 or 1 slots page one of Google, is a disappearing boudoir photographer. Because look, if you got 0 slots on page one, we already know approximately 80% of Google searches do not go past page one. So we're invisible to 80% of the marketplace. So yeah, we're definitely disappearing. For 1 slot on page one, we're looking the same as everyone else. We're price shopped to death. We're disappearing as well. And this is kind of the canary in the coal mine where BSS causes disappearing boudoir photographers, and basically all disappearing boudoir photographers also have BSS, what kind of is foreshadowing for the eventual disappearance of the entire boudoir photography business. So it's the canary in the coal mine. So we got to solve first. We got to stop the bleeding here. And luckily we have a solution, because we now have learned through extensive testing that BSS is treated with social search saturation. This is our S-cubed methodology. We invented it. You cannot get this solution from anybody else. And social search saturation is exactly what it says. We saturate social search with the highest intent search terms to show up there and kick everyone else out. These are kind of like, the smaller rivers that feed into the Amazon. And kind of when we do that successfully, that flows down into the Amazon, flows into Google. And many times Google will start giving us more and more page one slots for those more and more keywords we're ranking for in social search. So it's called social search saturation S-cubed methodology. We want to be saturating social search at all times, because if we're not, someone else in our city probably is. If nobody is, then we got the first mover advantage to do it. So S-cubed methodology, the magical thing about this is the only thing I've ever seen for boudoir photographers that can successfully fight against market saturation and essentially render it, null and void. Because imagine we're in Miami, Florida. Let's say there's 1 million boudoir photographers. Everyone's got a website for their boudoir photography business. They're ranking it. They're competing for page one Google search. But let's say we take S-cubed methodology to the max. We rank for the first, 300 slots for the highest intent search terms for boudoir in our city across all the major social media platforms. So we saturate social search. We're there. Can't find anyone until slot 301 and after. As a result, we're saturating the first 300 slots on Google as well. Well, each page on Google is 10 organic slots, and so that's 30 pages. You gotta go basically any buyer's gotta go page 31 to find any of our 999,999 competitors, because we cranked S-cubed methodology up to the maximum. So, whose business is growing? Ours. Whose business is growing the fastest in the city? Ours, because buyers can essentially really only find us, because we're everywhere they look. Basically, we're gonna kick out, box out all the other competitors, and we already know, approximately 80% of Google searches never go past page one, so they definitely ain't going to page 31. So this is what S-cubed methodology enables us to do for all those who want to put in the effort to achieve it. Now, once you're with S-cubed methodology, we have page one visibility. We're finally visible on page one, even though if we had one slot there, we're not actually visible there because we look the same as everyone else. We get an added bonus to this where we're kicking competing boudoir photographers off page one, effectively making them invisible. They get kicked out to page two or deeper. And again, we know approximately 80% of boudoir photographers, or approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page two. They're page one only searches, which means page two and deeper is invisible, disappearing boudoir photographer, canary in the coal mine. Eventually, the boudoir photography business will disappear. So we achieve page one visibility once we overcome market saturation and page one. We crash through the false belief of page one equality. And page one visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So here we want to hit the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots on page one for local search and city search. Because when we're at 3 out of 10 slots, I mean, we've kicked off at least 2 to 3 other competitors from page one. Also, compared to everyone that has 1 slot on page one, we got 3. People are going to say, wow, why is Google recommending this person so much? They're going to auto trust us more. And the very rare chance someone else has 2 slots on page 1, well, we're at 3, and so we're always beating them. So it activates boudoir search visibility for us. And a boudoir photographer with BSV is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. This is our micro universe here. We got disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness caused by market saturation and page 1 equality. We now have a solution now, S-cubed methodology. And as a result, we achieve page 1 visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. Now onto my results I got using this. So I was using this, I want to rank for the term BLCS boudoir. And I use S-cubed methodology. That's exactly what I did. And what I actually did was, here, organic, we started spot 1. We got organic slot 1. We got organic 2. We got organic. So slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. And slot 10 is me. So I went from 0 out of 10 slots on page 1 to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 in 10 days. And this is through utilizing S-cubed methodology that we invented, that cannot get this from anyone else. We invented it, we created it. And so this is the power of S-cubed methodology. Now, main event here, we're going to check out this boudoir photography business, going to check out their local and city search. Looks like we got them combined here. Their local and city search, and see if they got BSS, yes or no. So we're going to Kalamazoo, Michigan. All right, so we're over here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Let's see what we got. Kalamazoo. All right, boom, we got one. All right, boom, we got 2. All right, so we got, all right, so for local / city search combined, we got 2 out of 10 page 1 slots in Google, so do not have BSS, but we are not meeting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots page 1 Google search. And so these are the results that we see. So if you are a disappearing boudoir photographer, you've got BSS, you did your local search and your city search, and you saw, you only got, you got either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google, and or you have not hit the GBC minimum, recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots on page 1. And you understand the page 1 equality belief, and now you're like, oh yeah, obviously that's false, when we didn't really even think about it before, because now we see how I got, 9 out of 10 on page 1 of Google organic search results. And you understand the market saturation, yeah. New iPhones, new boudoir photographers, new camera, new boudoir photographers. But you're also seeing AI take more and more people's jobs, and you're like, okay, like COVID brought in a flood of boudoir photographers. AI is taking more people's jobs, probably gonna bring in a flood of boudoir photographers as well. So you want to prepare for the influx of supply of sellers by kind of fortifying your page 1 Google presence. So essentially never allow those people joining to show up page 1 on Google. And you see S-cubed methodology, and you're like, yes, finally, I've been waiting for something like this. So you want to use S-cubed methodology to achieve page 1 visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer, achieve boudoir search visibility. And also you want the back-end bonuses of using S-cubed methodology as well, which we haven't talked about yet, we'll talk about now, which is we're basically building thematic keyword columns via social and on Google that are kind of columns plugged into our brand, our basically the name of our business, our social handles. And those thematic keyword columns, guess what? They increase the probability we show up here in the AI overview. They increase the probability we show up in AI search like ChatGPT search, Claude search, Perplexity search, Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini search. increase in the probability there. And last time I did ChatGPT search for boudoir photographers in the city, recommended me, it only gave me 3. And AI search is increasing every single day, more and more people use an AI search every single day. Still, Google's about 90% search volume, but we're kind of pre-positioning ourselves AI search, which S-cube methodology helps with. And kind of once we build this kind of back-end invisible momentum, these thematic keyword columns that plug into all these, basically prevent people ranking on page 1 against us and build up our keep building up and increase our probability of showing up across all these AI searches. And you decide you want to be a first mover because this has got to get done. Start building up this momentum because, again, ads, momentum goes to 0 when you stop spending. This momentum will continue ongoing. Basically, these have momentum, not infinite momentum, but you decide you want to start the momentum, then keep growing the momentum, actually dominate page 1. And you also see that the further you put yourself ahead of the competition now, when AI starts basically kind of forcing people to become boudoir photographers, you'll be well positioned to be unaffected by it because you've already built up page 1 domination, which is like, dude, that's like 7 out of 10 slots or more. Page 1 Google, 8 out of 10 slots or more. And being recommended AI search, putting distance between you and everyone else. And you want to basically guarantee that you put so much distance, nobody can catch up. Instead of a competitor working with me, where plan right now is to only work with 1 person per city. Instead of a competitor getting all these kind of momentum bonuses and page 1 slots where then you would have to actually, if I were to continue work with them, you would have to rederive the S-cubed methodology on your own, figure out how to actually get it to work. And then you will never actually know if you're doing it correctly, how we've done it. And then kind of you'd have to equal our output to maintain the distance kind of behind your competitor that I could be working with. And you'd have to kind of double our output to actually make up that lost ground and build back up the momentum and take it from us. So you've decided, well, it's better to simply become the first mover here. So we get all the benefits, none of the drawbacks. So if you want all these benefits, shoot me a DM when I open for new patient intake. I'm not currently open for new patient intake, so even if you want to work with me, you cannot. But when I do open up the hospital for new patient intake, shoot me a DM and we will see if you qualify.